Bear in mind, there's only 1,300 Muslims here, which is not a massive amount. You'll see that when we talk about the Fath Mecca, conquest of Mecca, which happens, not that long after this is times by 10. And you'll see that the conversions of people to Islam happens in this time between Al-Hudaybiyah and Fath Mecca. A lot of the conversion happens, and it happens actually because of da'wah, which shows you the importance of da'wah, the importance of preaching Islam in peaceful settings. That they really took advantage of this peace treaty to preach Islam. And so from zero, effectively being persecuted, to a point where they're now being recognized as a political entity to such an extent where it's a requirement to do a peace treaty with them. That they have a kayan and a wada', they have an established reputation. It took 19 years. Very interesting. 20 years of persecution, 20 years of attack, 20 years of humiliation, 20 years of boycott, 20 years including wars. And what are the wars that we have discussed? Let's do a quick brainstorm. The first major war, Badr, and then after we spoke about Uhud. Then we spoke about what recently? Al-Ahzab. Which means, especially when we're looking now about world events, not just in Palestine, but in Kashmir and different places, we say, Mata Nasrullah, where is the victory of Allah? We must realize that imagine not seeing any kind of result for 2 decades. 2 decades, you're not seeing any kind of result. And now, what's referred to as Fath Mubin, which is Hudaybiyah, the great conquest, things are starting now, the uphill trajectory is starting to happen. It took 20 years to get to that point. Do you see? Because some people, and this is especially the case with Muslims and non-Muslims, they consider that Islam is permanently hostile. Yeah, and that there is no potential or possibility or plausibility for peace. That Islam doesn't have that level of pragmatism or inbuilt flexibility embedded within it. The truth of the matter is, of course, in the age of empire, and generally speaking, the khiyar al-thulathi, or the 3 options, was something that was given to the people. But this is also a model.
What's the model? The
model of, okay, we're gonna do a peace treaty with you. But the point is that we've got, let's say, 57 Muslim majority countries now. It's 197 countries in the world. Most of them cannot compete with the superpower as it stands, unless they come together somehow. So this stuff is actually quite important for us as it stands, because it's not always a matter of treachery to the Muslim cause for there to be peace treaties between Muslims and others. However, having said that, we will find in this situation that the Prophet ﷺ is attempting his level best to get the best deal for the Muslim people, and he's trying to do Uddul Udda, the idea of strengthening the position of the Muslims so they can come back and propel the Muslims to a better condition. Some people use Al-Hudaybiyah as a means, for example, to claim that, well, Islam or the Muslims countries are doing peace treaties with Israel, they should do it. This is a good example, they say, of why they should do peace treaties with Israel, because if you consider the Prophet ﷺ, he done peace treaty with Quraysh, who are much worse than the Zionists. Therefore, what's the problem with doing peace treaty with Israel? That's what they would say. We would say the following, would respond in the following way. We would say that the Prophet ﷺ was not in a hurry to do a peace treaty with a people indefinitely who are hostile to Islam. He was doing it because of pragmatic reasons. He wasn't doing it because he wanted to do it. Him or the companions. It seems to me that there are people now in the Muslim world that want to do this. And you'll see that...
But they could also say that they're doing it for the same reason.
Sure, they can say that whilst they're normalizing at the same time.
Yeah.
But this is slightly different because
Rasul ﷺ still said, no, we will take Mecca eventually. But those that do peace treaties, in their mind, they're like, okay, this is Israel.
Exactly.
That's it. It's
beautiful,
over.
Beautiful. These are good. One verse says that الآن خفف الله عنكم وعلم أن فيكم ضعفا, that now Allah has made it easier on you and He knows that there are weak people among you.
Oh, you're talking about if there was 100 of you.
Yeah, if there was 100 of you, that you'll be able to defeat 200. If there was 1,000, you'll be able to defeat 2,000. So the ratio is 2 to 1.
Yes.
So, but why is Allah saying الآن خفف الله عنكم وعلم أن فيكم ضعفا?
We increased the number?
But yeah, because the number is definitely important. The ratio is 2 to 1. Before it was what? 1 to 10 by then.
Yeah.
So what is it showing you here?
Numbers matter.
Numbers matter. There's two verses in Surah Al-Anfal here. So one of them, it says that in the beginning it was a 10 to 1 ratio. Yeah, and then now it's become 1 to 2 ratio, 2 to 1 ratio. Now, if we couldn't expect, let's say for example, if we said numbers don't matter at all, right? Then 3 Muslims can go and fight America, the United States of America. Do you know what I mean? So there has to be some level of strategic planning when it comes to numbers. Otherwise, Islam would be an unstrategic religion.
100%.
So numbers do matter. Obviously, what you're talking about with ajabatkum kathratukum, what do you call it? Yawm Hunayn. This is important because Allah is criticizing the people, and we'll cover Hunayn, because they had ujub, because their numbers, they considered the numbers to be the sabab, they considered it to be the cause. However, obviously, numbers do matter from a strategic perspective, otherwise the other verse wouldn't matter. The point is that one of the things that happened, and we discussed before we came, is the numbers of Muslims increased, the fighting force increased. The fighting force increased from 1,300 to about 10,000, in fact, Fath Makkah. So there was clearly an intention to strengthen the Muslim fighting force before engaging with Quraysh. Now, like in today's age, the Muslim fighting force is actually quite a lot. Like Pakistan has 650,000 people in their active personnel, 1 million in the reserve. Egypt has 450,000 in the personnel. Morocco has 250,000. Turkey has 400,000 or something like that as well. So if you add all that numbers, we've got the numbers. It's just that we don't have the unity. You see, so the situation is different now. The kind of weakness we have is a weakness in unity, not in the weakness in numbers. And as you mentioned, also weakness in the kind of quality of the people that we've got here. Always blame your opinion on the religion. This is such a powerful hadith. Always, you have an opinion. Your opinion could be based on social factors. It could be based on anything, your socialization. It could be based on environmental factors. And what Umar ibn Khattab and Ibn Hanif mentions in this hadith, same hadith, ittahamu. Ittahamu means blame your opinion over the religion. If you have a bad thought about the religion of Islam, whether it's a gender issue or a moral issue or a ruling or whatever it may be, then you shouldn't rush to conclusions. This is something very powerful, because whatever you think about the religion of Islam or about your current situation or the current situation of the Muslim people is not the full picture, it's only part of the picture. Just wait a little bit more and you'll see what happens. When we set out to do this intellectual seerah, and in general what the Sapiens Institute tries to do is make a case for Islam. This is what hopefully separates this seerah from other seerahs. I mean, there are seerahs that focus on fiqh. There's even books entitled Fiqh al-Seerah and so on. The Fiqh of Seerah. Abuti wrote a book called Fiqh al-Seerah, a very famous book, and others have written books with similar titles. So they focus on the rulings relating to seerah. And there's some other people that will focus on the narratives and the storytelling aspect of the seerah. And they'll narrate the seerah as if it is a story, and that's fine. These are all legitimate and fine approaches. What we are doing with the seerah is we are trying to make arguments using seerah material. And we are using an interdisciplinary approach. And there are two things when you make an argument that you need to know. Making an argument for the case and handling objections against the case. And so we've dealt with some of the misconceptions. But it's also important to realize that there is arguments, positive arguments that we can make. And of the arguments that we can make are miracles of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And I want to repeat this because it's very interesting. I've read a lot of Christian apologetic material. And if I were to summarize, like C.S. Lewis, all of these figures, even Reasonable Faith and all of these guys, if I were to summarize what I consider to be the strongest argument for Christianity, according to them, it can be summarized as two. And by the way, most Christian apologists will tell you this is the strongest argument for Christianity that I've read. Number one, they say the miracles of Jesus Christ. Yeah, look at him, he cured the leper, he raised the dead and so on. Number two is connected to the historical event of the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And a lot of them in public debates will actually say this. They'll say, look, say for example Islam or other religions, they considered the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ to be a false event. We consider it to be a true event. Here is the historical evidence of it being a true event. Therefore, if we can establish that the resurrection of Jesus Christ happened, we can establish that Christianity is true. Notice that the strongest arguments for Christianity are all historical arguments relating to supernatural events performed by the character of Jesus Christ. Notice that fact. Now, of course, any historian will tell you, and we've seen this, that we don't even trust in your reports, because all you have is New Testament reports, and they're contradictory, they have no chain of narration, they are weak, they're corrupted, and so therefore the argument falls flat on its face or falls apart like a deck of cards. If this is your strongest argument, just the issue of preservation itself is enough to discount it. However, what we can take from this is to say to a Christian, your strongest argument is one of our weakest arguments. Because we've already noted that our strongest arguments relate to do with the preservation of the Quran. Yes, we said before, the sufficient and necessary conditions. The predictions of Islam, Abu Zakaria's book, for example, gives you a flavor of that in English. The historical aspects of things that couldn't have been known, we said. The linguistic and structural aspects of the Quran. In short, the strongest arguments of Islam all revolve around the Quran. So the argument made, therefore, is this. The argument we will make is, if you consider miracles of Jesus, supernatural events that happened to Jesus, to be enough to solidify your faith as a Christian, surely then you shouldn't discount the miracles of the Prophet Muhammad, which are based on a more rigorously preserved text, authentic narration.
Hopefully you learned something from the peace treaty with the Prophet, peace be upon him. Let us know in the comment sections. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and see you tomorrow inshallah.